Hello, so welcome to today's Meet the Funders webinar. We're delighted and very grateful to have the National Lottery Community Fund with us today. They'll be sharing some information on their open funding programmes along with their grant holder support offer. So I'm just going to do a wee quick note on some housekeeping. So today's session is in a webinar format as we're so grateful to be joined by so many people today. So you'll notice your cameras are off and your microphones will be on mute. But we'd love to know where you're joining from and what organisation you're joining from. So if you want to pop your name and organisation in the chat, that would be lovely as well. We'll be sharing the recording with you after the session along with the slides as well. So we'll make sure to circulate that after the session. You'll notice there's a Q&A section as well in the chat where you can submit questions. So feel free to do that throughout today's session as well, and we'll make sure to answer them at the end. If you see a question that you think, oh, I was going to ask that, or I'd love to know the answer to that, you can upvote the questions as well. And that just lets us know the most popular questions as well to make sure that we answer them as well. We'll be sending out a wee feedback form after the session also. That's really useful for us to help us kind of shape future events that we run and let us know how you found today's session as well. So if you were able to do that, fill out that form, we'd massively appreciate it. And lovely to see so many of you coming through in the chat, letting us know where you're joining us from. Would you be okay to go to the next slide, Chris? So hello, my name is Kirsty Young and I am the Funding Scotland Development Officer at the Scottish Council for Voluntary Organisations, which is also known as SCVO. So the Scottish Council for Voluntary Organisations, we are the national membership organisation for the voluntary sector, and our mission is to support, promote and develop a confident, sustainable voluntary sector in Scotland. Perfect, thanks Chris. So as I mentioned, I am the Funding Scotland Development Officer, but I'm aware many people won't have heard of Funding Scotland. So what is Funding Scotland? It's a free online database of funding opportunities that you can find for funds that are available in Scotland. This service is provided by us at SCVO, and it's loads of information of hundreds of different funding opportunities that are currently open, and the site is regularly kept up to date to make sure that the funds are relevant to the work of your organisation. We've tried to make it as easy to use and as accessible as possible, so you can use keywords and filters to identify the most relevant funds for your work. It doesn't matter what size your organisation is, whether you're based in Scotland, whether you're a registered charity or not, it's designed to be used by everyone. We also have like a weekly email bulletin that you can sign up to as well, and that'll just send you emails around what new funds are open and when funds are closing as well. So if you want to find out more around that, the link for that is funding.scot. Perfect, thanks Chris. So along with the funding database that you can use to find funds with your work, we look to kind of host different events. One of the events is today, our Meet the Funders session as well. Going forward, we'll be doing this on a monthly basis on the first Tuesday of every month, with the exception of January, just as we feel people will still be defrosting from the winter break. So we'll be sharing the next event in the next month around the Meet the Funder session that will take place in February as well. We have a lot of funding advice and guidance and support on our website as well, so feel free to check that out and you can find some information around our funding support there. We also look to put on learning and training courses as well that you can attend. So we have an introduction to fundraising course that is taking place next Tuesday at 10 AM. So that's been run by myself. So feel free to sign up for that as well, or have a wee look and see if it's relevant to your organisation. So I've mentioned some of the free features that come with Funding Scotland as well. If you're a member of SCVO, you can access some exclusive features as well. So you can save your most frequent searches. You can create a list of your favourite funds as well that you can then look through. You can receive personalised email alerts on your saved searches and lists as well. So if you're specifically putting in search filters as well, it'll make sure to email you funds that become available that match your searches as well. You can also add your own notes and keep track of your applications as well through the platform as well. And then there's just some extra information on funds, including award sizes and applicant success rates as well, provided based on the information that's available. Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's some further membership benefits for Funding Scotland as well. But on top of that, there's wider membership benefits from being a member of SCVO. If your annual income is under £100,000, membership is free as well, and then on a tiered scale thereafter. So feel free to have a wee look on our website at scvo.scot/membership if you're looking to find out more about our membership. So we also run an event every year, and it's the largest free event for the voluntary sector. And this is taking place on the 10th and the 11th of February this year. Next year. We're getting to the words the end of this year. So this is taking place in the EICC in Edinburgh as well. As I mentioned, it's free to attend. There's loads of different learning events taking place throughout the gathering as well, and there will be a lot around funding as well. So SCVO members can sign up to book from the 9th of December, and everyone else can sign up to book into sessions from the 6th of January. So feel free to have a wee look at our website to find out more around that as well. So I think that's everything from myself. We're delighted, as I mentioned, to be joined by the National Lottery Community Fund. So I'm going to pass over to Kirsty, another Kirsty as well. So hopefully that won't be too confusing for everyone to talk about their open funding programmes. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Kirsty. So yeah, hello everyone. My name's Kirsty, and I'm joined this morning by my colleagues Paul, Anna, Pauline and Emily. Yeah, so first of all, we'd just like to say a big thank you to Kirsty and Chris at SCVO for inviting us along to take part in today's Meet the Funders session. I'm a funding officer here at the National Lottery Community Fund on the South Scotland team. So that covers Dumfries and Galloway, Scottish Borders and the Three Ayrshires. And I have a specific focus on Dumfries and Galloway. My role as funding officer involves meeting groups, providing pre-application advice, assessing funding applications, and then offering post-award support. So here in Scotland, we're organised into 8 place teams to ensure national lottery funds reach across the country and are accessible to all. It also means we get closer to communities to build local knowledge and connections, which underpins all our grant making. So today I'm going to give you an overview of our funding programmes, so National Lottery Awards for All Scotland, Community Action, Fairer Life Chances and Young Start. I'll cover the types of projects we want to support, our eligibility criteria, the differences between the funding programmes, and hopefully give you some hints and tips for applying as well. So next slide, please, Chris. Thank you. So first up, National Lottery Awards for All Scotland is our broadest and most popular funding programme. It offers funding of between £300,000 and £20,000 for up to a 2-year period for a range of community projects. However, with a limited budget, we want to spread our funding as widely as possible, so we take value for money into account when assessing. Therefore, we would recommend just applying for what you need rather than the maximum amount available. And with any other funding or match funding, if required, secured before applying. Awards for All is an open online application process, and you'll receive a decision within 12 weeks of applying. While you are able to apply online, we recommend it's best to speak to us first before you apply, as we're experiencing high demand. So the types of costs that we can cover through our Awards for All would be events, equipment, startup costs, minor refurbishment and staff costs. And a couple of quick examples of what we can't fund would be overseas travel and fundraising activities. In terms of a good application, we're looking for your application to clearly address at least one of the following 4 awards for all funding aims. The first one is around bringing people together and building strong relationships in and across communities. The second one is improving the places and spaces that matter to communities. The third is helping more people to reach the potential by supporting them at the earliest possible stage. And finally, the fourth aim is supporting people, communities and organisations facing more demands and challenges because of the cost of living crisis. And in addition to the funding aims, one of the most important things is to show meaningful community involvement in planning and delivering your activities. This is a really important factor in how we decide which applications to fund. As people know best what's needed in their community, it's vital to involve your community from the start in the design, development and delivery of the activities you're planning. For example, we'd expect groups to have carried out consultation to show that the ideas come from the community itself, and it's good if groups can demonstrate that local people will be involved in the delivery of what you're planning, so for example through volunteering. It's also worth highlighting here that if you're a sports or arts focused group, we run this funding in partnership with Sports Scotland and Creative Scotland. For groups who are applying for funding for sports or arts projects, the maximum amount available is £10,000 for a project of 12 months duration. For the specific sports and creative priorities, please see the Awards for All section of our website and also for full details on applying. Next slide, please, Chris. Thank you. So moving on now to community actions and fair life chances. Each programme has its own priorities and outcomes. However, our overarching focus for both of these programmes is supporting people most affected by poverty, disadvantage and discrimination. So when applying for either programme, we will ask you how you reach and support these people. Next slide, please, Chris. Okay, so now just to cover the application process for community action and fair life chances. So before you apply, please contact us by phone or email. This will allow us to give you the best advice about your project idea and also advise you about the amount you might be able to apply for. Your inquiry will be considered by the place team that covers the geographical area where your project is based. If your idea is a fit, your organisation can apply through a digital application portal. Alternative methods of applying, such as an accessible PDF application, are also available. Your application will then be considered by your funding officer from your local place team, and we aim to tell you our decision in 12 weeks. Okay. Thanks, Chris. So the next few slides are going to cover community action in some detail. So community action will support projects bringing communities together around activities that matter to them to improve well-being and develop positive relationships within those communities. Projects should help people connect with each other and or the environment. It will support projects that are open, inclusive and led by the people who will benefit from their activities and services. And this can include people who share an identity, interest or experience, or people living in the same place. So now we're going to cover what demonstrates a strong community action project. So next slide, thank you. So there are a few things we ask projects applying for community action to demonstrate. Projects must show in their application how they will help people come together. This could be through an activity or place that's online or in person. Oh, sorry, can we move on to the next slide, please, Chris? Thank you so much. Reach and support people who experience poverty, disadvantage or discrimination. Be led by your community. This means that people from your community lead on the project idea, planning and decisions, build on the skills, experiences and strengths of your community, and finally understand activities or services that are already available to a community, and so show us how your work will fill a gap. Okay, and then we're going to cover the project outcomes, the community action programme outcomes. So your project must achieve at least 2 of the following 4 outcomes. build positive relationships, support people's health and well-being, help people improve their access and connection to nature, and make a positive difference to the environment. So now moving on to what kind of things you can apply for and the amounts that you can apply for. So you can apply for between 20,000 and up to 250,000 for up to a 5-year period. We'll talk to you about the length and amount of funding you can apply for. Just to note, we can fund new or existing projects. And although it's not an exhaustive list, the types of projects funded through community action might be those that provide a regular programme activities that improve the well-being of the community and bring people together. Another example is community kitchens, ladders, pantries, but we'd expect this to also include advice or support activities as well. We can fund community gardens or growing projects. And finally, another example would be environment clear-ups, waste reducing activities, or mending, repairing and upcycling workshops. So now moving on to Fairer Life Chances. Thank you. So Fairer Life Chances has a strong focus on more intensive and tailored support specific to the needs of individuals experiencing different forms of disadvantage. This funding is for projects that support children, young people and families, or help people be healthier and have better access to support. And in terms of what demonstrates a strong Fairer Life Chances project, in your application, you must show how you'll firstly reach and support people experiencing poverty, disadvantage or discrimination, involve the people you support in how it's developed, delivered and led, build on their strengths, and complement and make connections with other services that support them. Fairer Life Chances focuses on giving people access to services that help them navigate the issues they're facing and to live healthier lives. And it's for projects that support children, young people and families, or that support people experiencing health inequalities. So health inequalities can include disabilities and long-term conditions. They might also include poor mental health, isolation or addictions. Projects can be preventative in approach or responsive. And for the Fairer Life Chances outcomes, so projects must meet at least one of the two outcomes. So the first one is children, young people and families thrive. And the second is people have better relationships, connections and physical or mental health. And moving on to the specific outcome priorities. So we know that we can't fund all the valuable work being delivered by and for communities across Scotland. We have therefore set out some priority funding groups so that our funding reaches the most vulnerable or excluded communities, particularly people who find it hardest to access support. We'll prioritise projects supporting children, young people and families who are facing poverty or struggling with the cost of living, experiencing mental health issues, with a disability or additional support needs, for example, children with a physical or learning disability, or English as a new language. And children, young people and families who are socially excluded and experiencing discrimination, including being homeless or care experienced. And we'll prioritise projects that help the following people to have better relationships, connections and physical and or mental health. People who experience abuse, are isolated or lonely, are carers, have a disability or long-term condition, face financial hardship, or experience social exclusion or discrimination, such as those who are homeless, seeking asylum, or dealing with addiction. And then just moving on to the funding levels and what you can apply for. So again, funding up to £500,000 for up to 5 years. We'll talk to you about the length and amount of funding you can apply for when you contact us. And we want to fund different sizes of organisations and projects, but we expect that most of our funding will be for £250,000 or less. And again, we can, similar to community action, we can fund new or existing projects. Thanks, Chris. So on screen now are our two main funding programmes together at a glance, as a reminder of what we've just discussed. There are different aims, outcomes and amounts. However, both programmes will allow you to apply for up to 5 years of funding, and all projects that are applying to these programmes must involve people who experience or are most affected by poverty, disadvantage or discrimination. So please visit our website to find out more about our funding programmes, community action and fair life chances, and to view a full list of eligibility criteria. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Young Start. Thanks, Chris. So Young Start is funding we distribute on behalf of the Scottish Government from dormant bank accounts. I won't go into detail today, as Young Start will pause to new applications at midday on 19th of December and will reopen in spring 2026. This is because we're improving Young Start so it better represents the voices and ideas of children and young people. Young Start can fund work to help children and young people aged 8 to 24 to become more confident and play an active part in realising their potential. We will only fund projects that clearly involve young people in their development, design and delivery. Yeah, so we'll share more information on the relaunch programme as soon as it becomes available. So moving on to next slides. Yep, so just to kind of highlight, you can see full details of all our current funding programmes on our website, and please filter to project location, Scotland. Okay, and then the final slide. Yeah, so please do get in touch with us directly. You can email us or give us a call using the details on screen. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. This is a lot of information to digest this morning, but I hope this has been helpful. Now I'll pass over to my colleagues who will update you on our grant holder support offer.
Thanks, Kirsty. Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Forrest, a funding officer in our recently established grant holder support team. We're a small team of 3 and also includes funding manager Pauline Kerrigan and funding officer Anna Grant, who are both on camera and here today. Just going to sort of follow on from the different funds that we have and the different funding programmes that we've got available, as Kirsty just touched on, and really present what else we can provide as a funder. Next slide, please, Chris. Thank you. So what is grant holder support and what is our role? Our ambition is to go beyond just giving out grants. It's our UK-wide strategy. We are a UK-wide funder. It's our strategy to 2030 to give our grant holders advice and information to help increase impact and organisational resilience. The support. Oh, sorry, Chris, I'm still on that slide. Yeah, the support is specifically for organisations who are current grant recipients only, so that's what we internally would call our grant holders. The focus for our team is to build on what you may know as a Funders Plus model, and it's really about providing additional support for grant holders that offers more than just funding. Next slide, please, Chris. So where does this come from then, and what is the background? Our work is focused on 6 themes, which will shape our work for the foreseeable future. These themes have come from previous iterations of delivering grant holder support related work. It also comes from learning and consultations that we've had in developing some of the new funding programmes that Kirsty touched on. And it also comes from a survey that we distributed to all our grant holders last year. That was in October 2024. So all of this work has really helped to sort of shape what our priorities and what our 6 key themes are moving forward. So those 6 themes, they are governance, digital and IT, evaluation and impact, finance, environment, in Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, known as EDI. Next slide, please, Chris. So our work so far, we're in a bit of a test and learn phase. We're trying to look at different sort of variations and different support methods to see what works best for our grant holders. That includes inviting experts in their field to apply to a new strategic grant holder support delivery programme that we have. I should say that that's not an open programme, so any organisation can apply. That's more about us as a funder and us as a grant holder support team reaching out to those identified experts. Also, we're looking at offering consultancy through support contracts. We're looking to create opportunities for peer networking and collaboration, delivering workshops and training sessions, and providing practical tools and resources as well. We expect that those key themes that I touched on in the last slide, they may evolve over time as we continuously review and adapt to ensure that the support remains relevant and meets the needs of our grant holders. So just on the screen there, sort of 4 examples of the work that we've been conducting so far. One of those was our governance webinar in partnership with SCVO that we delivered a few weeks ago, and we had some of our grant holders to learn more about what good governance means, but also a chance to chat to us and help us inform our work going forward. One of the other things just at the bottom of the slide there, around connecting with key stakeholders and other funders, that's something that we've already started doing as well, really to deepen our understanding of the challenges faced by not only our grant holders, but the sort of wider third sector as well. Next slide, please, Chris. So what's our future plans? What do we hope for going forward? We've already received a select few applications from those expert organisations that I touched on in my previous slide. And those are organisation experienced and already providing sort of capacity building support to the sector already. An example, one of the applications we've received in was an organisation who provides support around digital and IT. So all going well with those applications, we'll be able to fund them and then provide support in those specific areas relating to our 6 themes. If successful, then we hope to sort of begin mobilising that support in some of those areas to benefit grant holders, and that will be something that we'll hopefully be announcing in due course. As previously mentioned as well, we'll use alternative methods. We'll be looking to procure contracts for support. We'll hope to continue those webinars for engagement. We want to bring our grant holders together to really share and learn from each other. Next slide, please, Chris. I just thought I'd touch on what we won't do as a team and what isn't our focus. We are not responsible for managing your grant or your funding relationship in Scotland. If you have a grant with us already, you will have your funding officer. So your point of contact will remain your funding officer, anything relating to the current funding that you have with us. They'll continue to assist you. If grant holder support is something that you're looking at, then absolutely you'll have conversations with your funding officer as always. And really in the background, we work closely with our place teams and the funding officers. We'll provide and guidance in the background to make sure that support is right for your organisation. And just at the top there, provide support to organisations who aren't currently grant holders. Unfortunately, this is exclusive to current grant recipients. And then that's it. That's just a very quick whistle-stop tour of grant holder support, our team and what our focus is. If you do want to contact us, you can do so. We've got a separate email, which is just on the screen there. So any questions at all, please feel free to get in touch. But as I said, if it's regarding your current funding, or if you're looking to apply to a new funding programme, that would remain with the current funding officer that you have already. And thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Paul, and to Kirsty as well, both talking through the open funding programmes and also the grant holder support. So we've got quite a few questions in the chat and we've got a good amount of time to answer them, which is great. So there's a few questions around applying for different funding streams and if you're able to apply for both. So somebody's popped a question around if they're interested in applying for Awards for All, but they're already writing an application for the Fairer Life Chances grant. Would they be able to apply for both?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, I wasn't sure who was going to answer that.
Yeah. So yeah, an organisation, if you've got a grant with us already. So for example, if you've got an Awards for All grant and you're looking to apply to a different programme, that's absolutely fine. As always, just please get in touch and chat over your idea. But yeah, you're able to have a grant across some of our different programmes. What you can't have, if you're already in receipt of an Awards for All grant, for example, you can't then have a second Awards for All grant. So yeah, you're allowed, you're not allowed two grants in the same programme, but you can have an Awards for All grant and then consider applying to one of our other funding programmes. Going back to the scenario of already having an existing grant, if your grant is coming to an end and you're looking to reapply to continue for that project, or even if you want to apply for a slightly different project next time round, that's okay, as long as you are nearing the end of your current grant. Then as sort of mentioned previously, just get in touch with your funding officer and they'll be able to advise you and keep you right. But in the main, yeah, it's really one grant per programme that you'd be eligible for.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. There was a question, I think throughout the presentation, it was mentioned to get in contact first due to high demand for applications. And there was just a question around the best way to do that. Is it sending an overview of the suggested project or a phone call?
So I think either or, whatever suits you best. So a phone call is initially is fine, or an email, we'll pick up both. So just whichever suits you best, I would say.
Brilliant. There's a question around match funding, and this needed to be secured before applying. Somebody's highlighted this can sometimes create a barrier to applying for funds if it's a vicious circle. Is this something that could be revisited, or is this something that's needed match funding for some of the funding programmes?
So I think for Awards for All, when I mentioned it there in the presentation, so as we didn't ideally it would be secured, because obviously we don't want it to delay you delivering the project. So ideally it should be secured for larger funds over multiple years. And we'd look for you to have secured those for year one. And when we make an offer, and we look for you to confirm the year one funds are secured. However, we do, expect you to have a match funding plan for the subsequent years. But yeah, that shouldn't be like a barrier to applying.
Brilliant, that's really helpful, thank you. Yeah, so somebody's mentioned that the questions have just jumped there. So they've mentioned they're interested in the support for financial inclusion services, their organisation. Sorry, they've mentioned, so the question is, for financial inclusion, will this be distributed in Scotland? Mention around the funding programmes in England and Wales have allocated a significant funding stream for this. So just if there was anything similar in Scotland.
Pauline, you're muted, Pauline.
Sorry, I'm used to Teams. What was the question? Was it around grant holder support, or was it for funding streams?
For funding streams, Pauline, sorry. Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I think they provide financial inclusion support, if I'm understanding the question correctly. Apologies.
Yeah, there's not anything specifically around financial inclusion in Scotland at the moment.
I think there's a question to do with dormant assets account, Kirsty.
Is it dormant assets?
Yeah, so we're currently still in discussion with the Scottish Government around our direction for the dormant assets accounts in Scotland. We hope to have more information on that in the new year.
Perfect, thanks very much. So I think we've if you can apply for multiple funds through the lottery, but I think you've answered that, Paul, in your first question. So somebody's asked if there's a budget for Young Start when it closes in December at all.
I don't think that's been determined yet. Yeah, there's still a bit of work to do around that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So somebody's asked if their project could fit both under community action and fairer life chances. How do they decide which to apply to, or can they apply to both?
Speak to a funding officer. Yeah, I think that sometimes there can be crossover. I would say the organisation needs to prioritise, what they want to do. And if they're not sure, then it's always best to speak to a funding officer.
Perfect, thank you. Somebody's asked if they're unsuccessful with their application, are they able to reapply?
Yeah,
I think Emily put something in there to say speak to your funding officer and they'll be able to advise you. You are able to apply again, but I would say to ensure if we've given any feedback that you follow the feedback. If you haven't, then you're unlikely to be unsuccessful again. But the best thing is to speak to the funding officer who was dealing with your original application, and they'll advise.
Brilliant, thanks, Pauline. And there was a couple of questions asking, are there any restrictions because of an organisation's income in being able to apply?
No. Yeah, so yeah, we don't have a cap on income or anything like that. So we do encourage even smaller organisations with lower incomes as well. So, for example, in our small grants programme, National Lottery Awards for All, I say we prioritise organisations with smaller income. I wouldn't say that we actually prioritise, but we do certainly look to encourage those smaller groups, particularly those groups with an income of under £30,000 as well. So if you're an organisation with low income, I did see something in the chat earlier about a group who it took a while for them to open up a bank account. I think it's been a few years, and that's really just restricted them having any funds in their account or having any income. So I would encourage them to apply, and if certainly have a look at Awards for All. So yeah.
Brilliant, thanks, Paul. And there was a question around your approach to the full cost recovery model, and if that's the same as the National Lottery's Heritage Funds model, the approach that they take.
I don't know if it's exactly the same as the Heritage Fund lottery, but we do have a full cost recovery process that we do adhere to. Don't know if it's exactly the same as the Heritage one, but we do have it.
Yeah, if you type in full cost recovery National Lottery Community Fund into Google, it's a document that can be viewed pretty easily, actually. So yeah, if anyone's wanting to view that, then just have a little search for that. It should be quite easy to find. And if you can't find it, then please do get in touch, either with us or your funding officer, and we'll be able to link you in with that document.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through and seeing which ones, because some of the questions have been similar, so just to make sure. So can multiple organisations apply jointly as partners to the Fairer Life Chances Fund, or should one lead partner organisation apply on behalf of the project?
I keep going up to the top to unpress me. Yeah, so we would welcome partnership bids, but normally we would have one lead applicant, if that's what the question was.
Brilliant, thank you. So there's a question, so they've mentioned that their charity has lost their ability to raise funds or apply for grants, as the bank account won't open their account for almost 4 years. They now have one. With this issue of having no income causes problems when we apply, or will be given any sort of leeway.
And that was the one that I touched on, Kirsty, the one that I saw earlier. So yeah, I would say apply, have a look at Awards for All in the first instance. And yeah, we wouldn't discourage them from applying just for that reason. So yeah, we often, particularly within Awards for All, we receive applications with recently established groups with no income, etc. So that's certainly a programme that they can consider.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's a question around, we currently have Awards for All project, but want to secure more funding. Can we apply before the existing project finishes?
No, you couldn't apply. Well, it depends. You can have up to £20,000 over a 12-month period, so depending on the amount of your current grant, you know, if it's not up to that maximum, potentially, but you'd need to have spent the grant and finished the project once completed before you reapply. But best to speak to your individual funding officer for advice again.
Brilliant. Thank you. So I think you might have touched on this, Paul, within your presentation, but there was a question around, are the grant holders support team exclusive for those interested applying or currently have a grant with the National Lottery? Can previous applicants get in touch? Oh, you're on mute, Paul, sorry. Sorry,
can you read that question out again, Kirsty? Because I was looking at a question there and I thought that was the one, but it turned out that it was a different one. Apologies.
No problem at all. Are the grant holder support team exclusive for those interested in applying or have a current grant with the National Lottery? Can previous applicants get in touch?
So it's exclusive to current grant holders only, yeah. So you need to be in receipt of funding from us in Scotland. So it's one of those programmes, funding within one of those programmes that Kirsty sort of touched on earlier. So if you don't have a grant, or if you were previously a grant holder but don't currently have a grant with us, then unfortunately the grant holder support offer wouldn't apply to you. And yeah, it only applies to those currently in receipt. If you don't have a grant now, but you do have a grant in, say, 6 months, then when you do have a grant, then that grant holder support offering would then apply to you.
Brilliant, that's really helpful, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading through some of them and thinking we've answered quite a few of them as well as we've been going through as well. Brilliant. Sorry. Is there a higher interest in Young Start because of the interest, because of the cut-off date at the moment?
I don't know if we've actually got any. Sometimes we do get a spike in applications when we announce that we're pausing a programme, but to be honest, I don't know if there has been much. Probably more of the place teams would know that. Not heard anything, so I'm assuming maybe not. Don't know if Kirsty, do you know if there's been anything in place teams?
Not yet, but maybe it's to come. Obviously, it's the 19th, 12 p.m. and the 19th.
Yeah,
is when it goes on pause. So not at the moment, but certainly that could change. I think
still got time.
We see with other programmes and from previous experience, but yeah.
Brilliant. So there was a question around when you say the project should be led by the community itself, it must come from the community itself. How would you like to see this action? Can you speak to an example of what this would look like?
So I'll just come in. Yeah, so community consultation. Have you done surveys with your community? That would be an example. I don't know if anyone else has got any other examples. Yeah, we just want you to actually be speaking to your community so that what you're planning is reflecting what is needed in your specific community. So that's...
Yeah. I think, personally speaking, I think the term community can sometimes be quite misleading or misinterpreted by groups. Really, what we're meaning is those who will benefit from your project. Some groups think that they need to go out and do a real wide community consultation, but that's not necessarily the case. It's really identifying who will benefit from your project. So it might just be a group of young people, or it might be a group of older adults, if that's who your project is aiming to benefit. And as Kirsty touched on, some of those methods can be very simple. Consultation, end of session feedback, surveys, questionnaires. It could be more formal methods as well, like focus groups, steering groups. It can potentially having lived experience within the organisation as well, who maybe understand the needs of that community as well. So there's loads of different ways to really involve your community and involve them in sort of shaping the design and the development of your project.
Brilliant, thanks very much, Paul. And there was a question around match funding again, if that's expected rather than 100% lottery funded. Are there any specific circumstances where match funding is expected rather than 100% lottery funded?
I wouldn't say there's specific circumstances, but it's also really useful to have the match funding. Not only does it demonstrate the connections with other organisations, you know, it's also depends maybe on if we've continually funded a project for several years, maybe we'd look at some match funding being more useful, but it's not absolutely necessary, but it's also helpful to have it.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. Follow-up question for that: if the match funding is raised by the community themselves, is that acceptable?
If it's what by the community?
Sorry, if they've raised the money themselves, like it's not came from another grant funder, but it's been like income generated.
Yeah,
I think.
Fundraising, community fundraising, that can be one example. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Brilliant.
No, that's been really helpful. Thank you all for your time today as well, and answering all those questions as well. We really thank everyone for coming along to today's session as well. We'd really appreciate if you could fill out the feedback form and let us know how the sessions went as well. We do have a wee extra 10 minutes left for the session. We've managed to finish up a wee bit early, so hopefully people can use that time to get a wee cup of tea or make the most of it. But we'll share the slides and the recording after the session, and we'll also send on the feedback form as well.
Thanks, Kirsty. Thank you.
Thank you so much to yourselves for coming along and talking about your open funding programmes, the grant holder support, and also answering all the questions in the chat as well.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks. Bye. Bye.